I don't know if that's a. I don't know if that's a German up on you coming up underneath you right now.
Hello, Naked Squirrel here. In this video, I'm going to make a little bit of
Coming
commentary
up on
over
this
the
guy's
clip.
ass right now.
This is because this video is
Yeah, it's a
kind of
lag.
luckily a hallmark example of some simple air combat 101, especially for
We need to go
dogfights
west
that
here.
have aircraft with very different capabilities and
We got
strengths.
flak above us. Flak,
Um,
flak, flak.
you'll see a variety of air-to-air combat tactics and
Yep,
techniques,
he's coming down. I see him.
including the good, the
Coming in
bad,
on me.
and
Coming in
kind
on
of
me.
the ugly.
And he's off.
This engagement starts out with a Bf-109 spotted over
He's
Russian
higher than me.
lines.
He's got
He's
heat.
flying solo against a superior number of Russian aircraft. I'm in one of the Russian aircraft. At the start of the fight, it starts with about two Russians, but by the end, I think he attracts about four
They did a fucking
planes in
track IR.
total.
It's like they redid
This is
something
a
and.
pretty good 109 pilot. He does a really good job of keeping his speed and energy, and shows almost a perfect,
Where are you? I
just
lost you.
hallmark example of the boom and
Are you below
zoom.
me?
He swoops in from high altitude and keeps his speed,
Looking
picks
for it.
up a lot of speed, and then climbs back up after he takes a shot.
I lost you guys.
And he can do this because the 109, compared to the Russian aircraft he's facing here, uh, has a really good rate of climb, and it's faster. So it's got speed and climb advantage. In the video, I'm flying a LA-5, which is a lot stronger at lower altitude, but the altitude I'm flying at, it has a pretty heavy disadvantage in speed, climb, and I don't even like the thing for maneuverability. Um, Compared to the 109, it kind of lacks in all aspects of air combat. Mastiff and the other Russian pilots are flying the Lag-3, which also has a pretty significant disadvantage compared to the 109 in both speed and climb. It may have a slight advantage over the LA-5 in at high altitude performance because it has a supercharger, but it doesn't seem to have much of a advantage or disadvantage. In this part of the clip, you can see the 109 kind of showing off his boom and zoom skills. He's doing a really good job, and you can see I'm defending against it. I perform kind of 1/2 split S's and then pull back up. This is a pretty effective defense against the boom and zoom, because once an
At
aircraft starts
2000, I don't
really
see.
picking up lots and lots of speed, the elevator and control surfaces become a little less effective. It also helps to drag my opponent
Yeah, I
down
see somebody
a
over
little bit of
the
altitude,
city.
possibly setting up friendlies for an attack. I lose him here, so
Is that
I'm
you over the city?
trying to coordinate with Mastiff of where we are and just doing a couple of maneuvers just in case he's behind me. Here I spot him. You can see I do another split S, but I stall
See, he's
because
on
I
my
turn a
ass.
bit too hard.
Oh, I see him. He shot at you.
But I'm able to make this
Alright, I got him. I
mistake
see him now.
without being in a severe
I think somebody else
disadvantage,
sees him too.
because if he does follow me down, he'll be below Mastiff.
Man, he is fucking just climbing like a mofo. And then I lost him. Dude, I cannot find this guy. I lost him in the soup up there.
Here you can see him dive on
Is it
Mastiff.
me?
This is
Left
a
turn?
bit more of the ugly. Um, he turns a bit too hard as well
Braking?
and winds up
It's
stalling out.
stolen. He shot at me.
Luckily, the maneuver was either so sudden or he did a high-speed stall and he went right by him before he got hit. Or the 109 just didn't hit anything important. I prefer performing split S's over flat turns or climbing up, mainly because it keeps up my speed, and if you just pull up too hard, or I mean just pull up in general, you slow down quite a bit and you present a very good target. It's a lot harder to do negative Gs once you've committed to a dive and a boom and zoom than it is pulling positive Gs and getting a crack shot at someone trying to do some sort of loop. The other effective technique is turning, which I still prefer dropping a little bit of altitude and keeping my speed in the turn. It seems to provide a slightly more difficult target for 109s, or just faster aircraft in general. But the main purpose is just to get him to overshoot, and you might be able to take a pot shot as he climbs up if you're alone. Otherwise, you're just biding time until you can coordinate with friendlies to drag him down to your altitude. With this, you notice I don't just dive straight down to the deck, because that would be just way too obvious, and he probably wouldn't follow me down, and he'd be picking on my wingman with who's higher up, and I'd be effectively out of the fight until I climb back up.
I see somebody going up there with him.
So here you'll notice I finally picked out where the 109 is, but I'm not flying straight into the fight at this point. I'm trying to get some altitude, that way I can come in with some speed and hopefully catch him on his next dive. Now you can see all three of the other lags are kind of sitting underneath him,
He's contrailing.
trying to take pot shots, and they're basically just playing his game. This is one of the big mistakes I see when people are trying to defend against the boom and zoom. They feel like they're trapped and there's nothing they can do, but you really have to spread out and try to get the 109 lower than at least one of you. That way you can get on his 6 and turn with him and drag him down. So here I come in. I've got quite a bit of speed, and I'm about co-out with him. I won't be able to quite keep up with his climb here, but it's enough for me to get a shot.
Down on somebody. Shot at each other.
My shooting's pretty bad, but that's because my my rudder controls are really sensitive. I haven't smoothed them out. I don't think I had it trimmed out very well either. So I take another pot shot here, and then I pull back down because I don't want to fall into a flat spin. I want to keep some advantage. He falls into a pretty heavy hammerhead stall, and then I get a nice deflection shot, and I buzz his wing off with the LA5's cannon. This video isn't really meant to critique any of the pilot's skills or anything like that. You can tell I made some pretty sloppy mistakes myself. It's mainly just meant to kind of show off the tactics. I found it a very interesting display of air-to-air combat tactics, and in the end, the only big tactical mistake the 109 pilot really made was fighting alone against superior numbers. He was doing a really good job, but it's hard to keep track of so many aircraft and check your 6 at the same time. Boom and zoom is really best done with a wingman or a larger group. You can alternate your slashing attacks and cover each other's 6. The same goes for defending against a boom and zoom, where the goal is to trap the faster, better climbing aircraft below you. You can see it didn't take much separation for me to get an energy advantage on the 109 there, but the reason you don't see it very often on servers is because it's not a very intuitive thing to delay charging into your opponent and shooting at him, which is why in various flight sims you'll often see like a gaggle of planes sitting below the better climbing aircraft because they're trying to chase them, and it seems intuitive just to follow them and wait for them to make a mistake. But there's other ways of going about it, and that's trying to trap them and varying your altitudes. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the skies.